thank you for joining us. This event today is part of our 6-day conference organised by the Foundation for Developing Compassion and Wisdom. So the Foundation provides programmes and courses to help us strengthen universal values like humility, kindness, courage, compassion, empathy. By seeing our day-to-day experiences through the lens of these values, we learn to manage our negative emotions better and create the space for wiser choices. The content of our courses is inspired by Buddhist wisdom and philosophy, and also Western philosophy, but without any kind of religious elements. So we present the courses in a modern way using scientific research and current theories in psychology. And this system of inner learning can transform challenging emotions. We can build better relationships and bring a more stable, lasting happiness. And we call it universal education. So please visit our website, compassionandwisdom.org, to browse through our resources, to download our free app, and to see what courses are coming up on our calendar. My name is Victoria Coleman, and I'm the Executive Director of FTCW, the Foundation, and today's session is 60 minutes long. I am delighted to introduce our speaker today, Laurie Dolan. So Laurie is accredited to facilitate 16 guidelines courses, level 1 and level 2, and transformative mindfulness method courses, and also unlocking your potential courses. As part of the University of Toronto Education Applied Mindfulness Meditation Program, Laurie has co-developed and co-facilitated a mindfulness and ethical values in the workplace workshop based on the 16 guidelines. Her passion is individual and organizational transformation. So she helps individuals and organizations to engage their potential for personal, community, and universal productive and beneficial change. Laurie's business, called Engage Your Potential, and purpose is aim for success, aspire, inspire, and motivate. I'm really excited to learn what Laurie is going to share today about self-compassion. The reason we wanted to include this theme in our conference was because our patron, His Holiness, speaks about if you don't have any compassion for yourself, you simply don't have the basis to have it for anybody else around you. So I think it's a really rich vein for us to see. And I would love to, at this point, hand over to Laurie. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. And I'm just really very grateful to the Foundation for Developing Compassion and Wisdom, and also this wonderful technology that we have, and Angela and Michaela, thank you, because it brings the world together. I mean, the world is getting very small, and it's wonderful that we can do this together. And if you're seeing it now, that's wonderful. I encourage you to participate, but if you're viewing it afterwards, I hope you enjoy. And I really appreciate you joining. I know it was a last minute change, but thank you. And at this point, I want to just get centered. So if everybody can just set your intention and your attention to the next 60 minutes where no one else wants your attention, that would be wonderful. And just take a deep breath in and breathe out. And as you breathe in love and kindness. And breathe out any anger that you might be feeling. Breathe in joy and happiness. And breathe out any sadness that might be there. Breathe in courage and curiosity. And breathe out any fear. I'm going to share my screen so that I can walk through some exercises with you, and you can certainly feel free to ask questions, but or put them in chat, and Angela and Michaela will be watching. If you have something, you can put your hand up, and I may be addressing it later. So what we're going to do is really go through and talk just a little bit about there we go. Just bring up this. There we go. A little bit about compassion, and then we'll get right into self-compassion. So self-compassion and along the lines of what the Dalai Lama has said, is it's one of the greatest gifts that we can offer others. It's a great gift for ourselves, but it's a fabulous gift for what we can offer. All right, just things are falling over here. We can offer others. And who better to introduce what compassion is than His Holiness? If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. And love and compassion are necessities. They are not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive. And I think that's a pretty powerful statement to be made. There we go. Another very powerful quote is from Thupten Jinpa. When you know how to make compassion a guiding principle and an active force in your everyday life, you can choose to live your life with more meaning, purpose, and joy. And I'm sure most of you know who Thupten Jinpa is, but for anyone who may not, he was a former monk. He is the principal translator for the Dalai Lama for over 30 years. And he currently is a professor at McGill University in Quebec, Canada. He wrote a book called A Fearless Heart: How the Courage to be Compassionate Can Transform Our Lives. And this was based on a revolutionary course that he helped to create in compassion cultivation training at Stanford University. And courage comes in because he talks about sometimes we can fear being compassionate because we may be mistaken for weakness or vulnerability. Maybe people will take advantage of us, and we spin our story. And sometimes self-compassion, people go, isn't that kind of selfish? Isn't that being self-absorbed? So courage is really important in compassion and self-compassion and moving forward to transform our lives. So compassion. What is compassion? So we all well know in our studies and just years of working with it is compassion is a heartfelt wish that others be happy and not suffer. But adding to that, it also is the intention and the desire to help. And it is also the wisdom to know how to help. What is that one thing which, when you possess, you have all other virtues? It is compassion. This is a quote that has been attributed to the Buddha. And just so there's a kind of context, sometimes we talk about empathy. Is empathy compassion? Not directly. Empathy is that capacity to understand or feel what another person is feeling, like to be within their frame of reference and a capacity to place oneself in another position. It can be certainly a motivator for understanding what to do when we feel compassion for another. Sympathy, on the other hand, is feeling sorrowful for someone or perhaps even pity for someone else's misfortune, but you're perceiving it from your own perspective. So our focus is on compassion, but sometimes I'm asked that difference of empathy and sympathy. So showing compassion to others, we can look at the wisdom themes, the 4 wisdom themes and 16 guidelines, for those of you who are familiar with that, is how we think. Humility, patience, contentment, delight, how we act out of kindness, honesty, generosity, right or thoughtful speech, how we relate to others. We relate to others with respect, forgiveness, gratitude, and loyalty, and how we find meaning, aspiration, principles, service, and courage. And when I say the word delight, so I pick a guideline card every free morning so that I know how to work within my day if I need it. And delight was the one from today. So it's one of my very, very favorites. So how do we show compassion to others? What does it look like to you? So I invite you to put in the chat or perhaps put your hand up and just for just a few minutes, maybe people have a way of sharing what you think compassion looks like. Anybody would like to share? And if not, that's okay. Anything coming through, Michaela or Angela?
Laurie, if you
Yeah.
could just go out of the shared screen for a moment, then it'll be a bit
Okay.
easier for people to see. Thank you. So there's quite a few responses in the chat box.
Thank you. Okay.
So someone is saying wishing to free others from suffering. Somebody else says listening, being there, being non-judgmental. Someone else saying being kind and wanting to help. Someone else said a simple act of being kind or helpful to others. So there are some responses.
Right, perfect. Probably should have put my other monitor on. I apologize. So thank you, Michaela. Just let me know to pop out when I need to. Thank you for sharing that and all of that. And thank you, Victoria. Okay. Wonderful. And we have, this is being translated. So if there's anything to add, that would be great. That's different. Thank you.
There's a comment in Spanish. Angela, can you read that?
Yeah, it's like it says it's a warm feeling, like an active warm feeling in regards to our own suffering and the suffering of others.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. So when we look at that, we can move into self-compassion. So if compassion for others is all of that, how do we translate that? And how can we feel more compassion for ourselves? Is it actually possible to feel heartfelt compassion for others if we don't understand compassion for ourselves? And we've never felt it. I'm sure we all feel it, we're just not recognizing it. So being more mindful of our need for self-compassion is so key to developing our own inner peace, but also community peace and world peace, because if we feel it, we will project it. We will show the world and our community what compassion is. And compassion, self-compassion starts with mindful awareness. We become very aware of our own physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual pains and needs. And we'll go through that and an exercise with that where we see where it is in our body, but what can we do with that? How can we take care of ourselves? And we can take care of ourselves through self-kindness, through loving kindness, through self-kindness, considering what our needs are and treating our needs. And if we can best treat our needs, we can certainly then find ways to help others. And there's that common humanity or connectedness. Just knowing our experiences are normal. Everybody suffers at some point, feels pain, might feel anger. It's just part of being human. It's one of those great gifts if we can understand what we want to do. So one of the things we have to do is not just address our own pain and recognize if we're in pain or we're in anger, but why don't we start the day with a self-compassion and loving kindness treatment? This can take maybe 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Of course, it's going to depend. I'll go through this and depend on your lists and how you work them into your morning routine. But every morning when you wake up, whether you're still lying and luxuriating in your bed, or you swing your legs over and your feet hit the ground, or whether you're taking a shower or a bath, just getting ready, you can put this into practice, or you can build it in to your meditation practice or your morning practice. And if you think it's going to add time and just can't do this, my time, I don't have any time. I don't want to get up another 15 minutes early. Well, you know what? Your mind's just talking to you and saying, hey, you have no time for this, but you can take control of that. And maybe you can beg, borrow, and steal a few minutes from the time you're on Facebook or checking emails or something and just build it in. So 1, when you wake up, wish yourself a good morning. Call yourself by name to say good morning. And then you can list, whether it's in thoughts, words, or song, what are your greatest hits, your grateful list. And start with, I am so grateful to be alive. And then you can think, say, or sing, I choose to be happy and joyful. And you might want to repeat that a few times, but every day you choose. Being happy and joyful is a choice. You can think of it or imagine one thing you can do today that will bring you joy and happiness. Big or small, doesn't matter. Think of one thing you can do today that would bring someone else joy and happiness. And it might be a simple smile. It might be holding the door open for someone, baking cookies for someone. Doesn't matter. And then next, add a prayer of loving kindness for you, for whoever's with you, for all of us. So you just repeat once or twice. May I be happy, healthy, and safe. May I live in peace, harmony, loving kindness, and ease. May you be happy. May you be happy, healthy. May you be safe. May you all live in peace, harmony, loving kindness, and ease. And then may we all be happy, healthy, and safe. May we all live in peace, harmony, loving kindness, and ease. What a beautiful way to start the morning. Prayers for yourself or others. And there are other loving treatments that you may have. You may surround yourself with beautiful white light of protection and loving kindness. You may surround others with a healing practice. And that didn't take that long. I didn't go through my greatest hits list of what I'm grateful for, but I do every morning. And it's a great way to start your day. Another part of a daily loving treatment, these are excerpts from Louise Hay. She has a loving treatment practice that she does about love. And I'll just read it out to you since we have some time, is that you can start your day too, just reading this or putting other words into it. But deep at the center of my being, there is an infinite well of love. I now allow this love to flow to the surface. It fills my heart, my body, my mind, my consciousness, my very being, and radiates out from me in all directions and returns to me multiplied. The more love I use and give, the more I have to give. The supply is endless. The use of love makes me feel good. It's an expression of my inner joy. I love myself. Therefore, I take loving care of my body, lovingly feeding it nourishing foods and beverages and grooming it. And my body lovingly responds to me with vibrant health and energy. I love myself, therefore I provide myself a comfortable home, one that fills all my needs and is a pleasure to be in. I fill the rooms with the vibration of love so that all who enter, myself included, will feel this love and be nourished by it. I love myself, therefore I behave and think in a loving way to all people. I love myself, therefore I forgive and totally release the past and all past experiences that really aren't serving me. And I am free. I love myself, therefore I live totally in the now, experiencing each moment as good and knowing that my future is bright and joyous and secure. So what is really important is that we individually have a practice of loving kindness treatment every morning to start your day, one that you can repeat or you can record it and listen to it. And so that way, every morning we let this loving kindness, this self-compassion sink deep into our heart, into our soul, into our bones, into our very DNA. Now, I don't know, before I start here, I could pause and ask if there's any other suggestions or anything else that anyone puts into their day that they build into their loving kindness. Just put it maybe into the chat and we can discuss that later. So the other thing that might happen is during the day, although we've set our intention and we've done our loving kindness practice, is that sometimes through the day, like something may go wrong, something may, we might feel out of whack and out of control, overwhelmed with things that have happened. Catch yourself in the act. Catch yourself when you are putting yourself down. When you put yourself down, you notice when others do it, but when you put yourself down and even in your head, you go, oh, I'm so stupid, or I'm such an idiot, or I'm fat, or I'm this, or I'm that. Like, why would I do that? I'm just being an idiot, right? Why would you put yourself down like that, right? You wouldn't do that with others. Why do you do that to yourself? So catch yourself when you do that. Catch yourself when you question your own self-worth. I can't do that. I don't deserve that. I'm not worthy of that. No one notices or appreciates. Just be aware of it. Catch yourself. Especially catch yourself when you're hosting your very own personal pity party. Poor me. No one likes me. No one loves me. I'm in pain. No one will listen. Why does this keep happening to me? It can't be me, can it? You know what? We're all human. We all have these moments. Catch yourself when you are feeling that toe-tapping impatience or disappointment with yourself or someone else and what it's bringing up and boiling up inside of you. And catch when you are feeling physical, emotional, mental, and or spiritual discomfort, pain, anger, fear, or sadness. Catch it. Because when we think of what we see that in other people, they're putting themselves down, they're not feeling any self-worth, they're feeling badly, they're in pain, they're suffering. What do you say to your friend? What do you do for your friends? You love your friends, you want to help them. Think of the words, think of how you talk with them, embrace them, and want to help them. And now think when you do it to yourself, you say the same things to yourself, excuse me, that you do to your friends? Or are you hard on yourself? Something goes wrong, you tell your friend, that's okay, that's all right. Things will get better, things change, this too shall pass. But then we go, oh, well, Dolan, that was pretty stupid. Why did you do that? Right? So really think about that. Think about those experiences of how you would talk with your friend, how you would talk with the child, and bring that in when you are feeling that. Catch yourself Use the same kind and understanding words and tone that you would with your friend. Give yourself that warm hug, that love, and that reassurance. So when we want to do that, sometimes just bring in humor. Like, ooh, I might say, when I'm getting down on myself, I'm gonna go, give your head a shake. You're just human, Dolan, right? What did you think? You were going for an Oscar? Who was going to give you a prize for that? Come on, you just made a mistake. It doesn't happen very often. It was just an error in judgment, right? Give it a little humor. Bring yourself out of that. Be curious. Sometimes when we feel anger or we're feeling out of sorts, you go, where did that come from? Get curious about it. And we'll give you a bit of that deeper investigation in a minute. But yeah, just get curious. You're feeling it. Stuff's like, where did that come from? What's that all about? And then you might even think, like, what triggered that? Interesting response. That person didn't mean anything, but look at what it's doing to me. Get curious. And knowledge. So why the analysis of why is this happening again? Or why do I feel this way? Knowledge is putting all those facts, the data and the information from your curiosity, and then figuring out what to do with it. The wisdom comes in is that, what can I do with this? With that knowledge, with that I put together, what can I do about this? So one of the things that I do, and I'm talking with some clients, and they struggle with this, and they're active. When you're in that emotion, when you're in that pain, that grief, anger, fear, it's active. You're in it. You're consumed by it sometimes. Feel it and understand it. But then take a mental step back as soon as you're aware. Oh, this is anger. You take a step back and go, oh, I think I'm angry. I think this is anger. Oh, I think this is fear. Oh, I think I'm in a lot of pain here. Maybe spiritual, maybe mental fear and pain. So once I take that one step back, kind of a little bit disassociate. Now I'm ready to bring in some loving kindness. And if I take another mental step back, I can analyze this a little bit more and think about, the thinker becomes the thinker, right? I'm aware of the thought and the reason. I look back for the reason. This doesn't mean that I didn't feel that emotion. You do need to feel the emotion. It's there, it's very real. But if I step back from it and look back into it, then I can do some practices of looking at, where is that in my body? What does it feel like, smell like, taste like? Like, what is the antidote? And how can I bring that antidote in to my body? And before we go to the next one, which is I'll walk through it with everybody and they can experience it. Just wondering if there's any other opportunities to share some experiences people have had. You're catching yourself in the act, or what you do. Is anybody that'd like to share? Please do. If not, we'll go into a loving kindness treatment for suffering and pain. So everybody can experience it. Okay. You're sharing. All right. So what I'm going to share with you next, it's an ancient spiritual practice about feeding or nurturing our inner demons. It was developed by an 11th century female Tibetan Buddhist teacher, Machig Labdron. And recently, Lama Alioni, turned it into a 5-step practice on how to feed your demons. So I've done some adaptation. I've worked with a lot of people using this when they are experiencing a lot of pain and want to make some changes. And it goes back to also when we talk about, feeling like the ego or that chatter that's going on, and people really, really, getting right intimate. Like they're consumed by the anger. They call it the monster in the closet. I've had people call it monster in the closet and that. So what I'm going to do is I'll bring this back up later so we can talk about it, but I'll lead you through it so that you're able to experience it. See if there's anything right now that comes to mind where you might be feeling any pain, any kind of anger, something's not right, something's just out of whack. Doesn't have to be huge, but or if you feel like you've got that monster in the closet kind of thing that constantly bothers you. So just identify it and find where that is in your body. When you find that in your body, does it feel good? Does it feel bad? Does it feel evil? Is it happy or sad? Is it funny or is it serious? What is the color or colors? What is the texture? Is it smooth, rough, spiny? What is the temperature? Is it hot, cold, warm? Does it have a scent or a smell? And if it does, what is it? Does it have a sound? Does it make a noise? It does. What is it? Now take time and personify it. Imagine what it looks like. Move it out from your body as if it's sitting in front of you. Imagine what it looks like, what it smells like, what it sounds like. Does it have a name? Does it have a gender? Is there something about it once you personified it that you didn't notice when it resided in your body? And what might that be? Notice the look in its eyes. It's looking back at you. What's that look like? What is its emotional state? What is it feeling? And now as it's sitting in front of you and looking at you, I'm going to ask it 3 questions. I'll repeat the 3 questions, and then I'll repeat and then prompt for the answer. So listen to what it tells you. It's sitting in front of you. Let it communicate with you. You're going to ask it, what do you want from me? What do you want from me? Second question, what need do you have that drives what you want from me? What need do you have from me? And if you get what you want and need, how will you feel? If you get what you want and need from me, how will you feel? So, although this is from within you and it's now in front of you, step into it. Step into it. And when I ask, and you ask, what do you want from me? It is responding, what I want from you is, and you fill in the blanks. What I want from you is. What need do you have that drives what you want from me? What I need from you is. What I need from you is. And if you get what you need, how will you feel? If I get what I need, I will feel. If I get what I need, I will feel. Now you're going to feed it. It's told you what it needs. It's told you what it wants. You're going to fill yourself up. And it's just like a hose. You're just going like beautiful nectar and healing energy of what it wants, whatever that is, it wants. And you're going to lovingly give it what it wants. You're going to shower it. You might even put like a hose on it, just cover it. Just keep embracing it with what it wants and keep on doing that until it is satisfied. Just keep giving it. Give it what it wants and needs. It's told you. When it's satisfied, has it changed? Does it look like it has changed? Has the look in its eyes changed? Anything about it changed? And now you want to thank it. Bring it back within you. It's so much a part of you. It's there now to support you, to protect you. Feel the shift within you and thank your friend. Once a foe, now a friend. There to support, always has been. We've just not been able to communicate. Thank your friend. Feel the shift. And then bring yourself back into the room. These slides are available to everybody. You can walk through this with yourself. You can walk through and just when you're feeling that kind of pain, And then perhaps just go through the next piece. And as we wrap up, then questions maybe you would like to share, or we've got some time now, I think, Victoria and Michaela, if people would like to share some of their experiences. I'm happy to share what people have shared with me, but please feel free to maybe just share a bit right now. If Hillary says now, I say yes instead of no. That was in response to something else, I know. Did anybody get an answer to what it needs and wants?
Maybe you can raise your hand, or is that Mercedes? Do you want to say something, Mercedes?
There's someone in the chat like Carol Christopher who says it needed wisdom and to know it was okay.
Wonderful. That is one thing that comes up to wisdom. It wants wisdom and wants to know it's okay. Did it shift when you gave it wisdom, when you said, you're wise, you acknowledge, you love it? Great. That's wonderful. I know it's magic. What a wonderful thing. No clear answer, but giving it attention created a change. Thank you, Lisa. That's wonderful. Felt my friend is angry with me, so I told her that I love her deeply, but it's not that easy. Talk to her yet. That may come. You may need to repeat it a bit. It's shifted from being aggressive to being a solid, wise being. Wonderful. That's wonderful. It's one of those exercises which can be very powerful. The feeding the demon, and some are a little more extensive. That one I kind of brought into a more compact time for us to experience. I've had people say where the monster in front of them has very evil eyes, wicked eyes, and needed forgiveness. Forgiveness, not it needed forgiveness, but what it wanted was forgiveness, right? And the person went out and had to forgave themselves, but had to forgive a number of people in their lives. Big change. One lady said it wanted strength. She's been trying to lose an enormous amount of weight, and she had that negative little monster in the closet nagging at her. And it said, wanted her strength, wanted her to be strong. So, big shift from being pulled down to feeling stronger and lifted up and supported. Thank you, Victoria. How to maintain self-kindness practices on difficult days. What is the reminder? What is the reminder? What would you give yourself in those days? So Edith, that's maintaining the self-kindness practice on difficult days. Those are the days that you need it most. So I think the reminder is you're having a difficult day. Maybe you just pull in one of those things that helps you feel better about yourself. Like if it's difficult, what is the difficulty you're experiencing? Let's wrap maybe something like this around it. Why am I having such a difficult day? Why am I feeling out of sorts? It's natural, it's human. And it's then maybe those are the questions about what can I do to honor myself and make me feel better? What is the one thing I can do? So it's not as much about, people do say, like, if you can go out and do something for someone else, that will help. But at that moment in time, when you recognize that and you're having a difficult day, maybe you do say, I don't want to go through that whole thing, but there's a part of that I need to address. I need to take care of me. What is it? What is that one thing I can do for me. It's not about being selfish. Self-compassion is not about being selfish or self-absorbed. It's about taking care of yourself, honoring yourself, loving yourself. I don't know if that helped or if anyone has other reminders. But that's when they say, when do you need it most? Is when you go, I don't think I want to do it today. It's probably when you need it most. All right. So.
I have a question, Laurie. Can I ask you?
Yes.
So why do you think we find it so hard to be self-compassionate? What do you think the obstacles are? Why is it just so difficult for us?
I'm not sure. I think sometimes it's fear of being judged. I think when we go inside and we try to take care of ourselves, we think, oh, people are going to think I'm selfish, or I should be doing things for other people, because we're always told, like, we give, right? And we need to receive in order to be able to balance. But part of that is being able to receive within ourselves. I think receive the love within ourselves, take time for ourselves. So I think, as I mentioned about the fearless heart, is that sometimes when we think of compassion, people think, oh, it's pretty weak and it's pretty, I'll be a pushover. People will think this. Self-compassion, the same way people think I'm selfish, or especially in the Western world and Western thought, is that when we do anything for ourselves, we're considered selfish, which has a bad connotation, or we're self-absorbed. So I think we got to do that mind shift, that it's important to take care of ourselves. If we can't take care of ourselves, how can we take care of others? How can we be compassionate with others if we can't do that for ourselves? So I think intention has a lot to do with it. But to your point, it may be that we just fear being judged, feeling guilty, because we want to take a little time to ourselves to take care of ourselves. Anybody else have something they would like to contribute to that? That's a really good question, Victoria. Those time questions to just. We are the first, thank you, Sylvia. Yes, but we are the first at judging ourselves too. And of course, we have a fear to be judged. Yeah. Thank you. Victoria, does that kind of ring, or is there another question?
No, I think that makes good sense. It reminds me, I think Thupten Jinpa said, one of the CCT things I'd attended, he mentioned that when he came across and started to teach Westerners, there was just this total unwillingness. It was very foreign to try to have this compassion for yourself. It was like people felt guilty about it, or they just didn't feel comfortable. It was like they were almost programmed to always put compassion out there, think of others. But he said from his culture, it wasn't really like that. So it was quite interesting to see that it's this something built into our psyche that makes us think, oh no, I'm being selfish, I'm being a bad person. But what you've shared today is so helpful. The practical advice you gave about, because for me, getting up in the morning is the real killer. It's like you wake up with this negative mind. It's like, oh, I gotta get. And now you've just given me a really great, exercise I can try out, which can help switch that up.
That's great. Yeah, and I think to that point, that's what I was saying, more the Western mindset, and here is that we've got some. As children growing up, the parents are like that. You take care of yourself, but you should always be, taking care of somebody else. Like you shouldn't be thinking yourself first. You should think of others first. But look what happens when you're, anybody who flies, or who's, like the first thing they tell you is if there's an issue on the plane and the masks come down, you always put yours on first. Then you can take care of others. If you don't put it on first, there's nobody, you can't do that, right? So that is almost like a survival thing. Well, you know what? We're humans, we need to survive and take care of ourselves. So thank you. Okay, let me just bring this to a couple more things. So comes back to self-compassion. Can you just imagine like what a wonderful world this would be if we all practice self-compassion? I mean, we wouldn't even probably be talking about compassion like for others, because it would just be, it would just be natural. And when I think of things like, every time I think of this phrase and what a wonderful world it would be, I think of the song that Louis Armstrong or Satchmo sang. And some of the last lyrics are, I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And it was reported that George David Weiss, who wrote this along with Bob Thiel, but I think Weiss was the one that wrote the lyrics. He wrote them specifically for Louis Armstrong, as he was inspired by Armstrong's ability to bring people of different races together. And I thought that was, when I read that, I thought, oh, that's probably why I really like that. Okay, so if there are any questions, be happy to do that. But I want to thank you with love, gratitude, and appreciation. Be good to yourself. Be good to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Love yourself. We got to get over ourselves sometimes and just love ourselves. It is the greatest gift you can give yourself. It is the greatest gift you can offer others. So I think we have some time for the, there we go.
Yeah, there's Laurie, there's one question here in the chat. She's asking, hold on. She says, Magda, she says, do you advise doing this type of practices with people with deep traumas and very low self-esteem? Or are there other types of practices that are recommended for these cases?
There are other practices. I have found, I like this one, working with people, some with, it can depend on the level of trauma, of course, but certainly a lot of people do have these deep traumas from childhood, and they've built up this, I mean, I'm working with quite a few right now, like anger. They've been abused as children, like by their mother or father, like mentally and emotionally abused, and they are living in anger and fear. And a lot of the fear is they're afraid if they're happy and they're content and have self-worth, that the tragedy is going to hit again. Because every time they've been happy and thought they trusted people and did something bad happened. So under that anger and fear. So and so there's like 3 or 4 or 5 people I've worked with like that, and I've done this practice with them, and it's real. And I've gone through a little longer and let them kind of absorb it, or sit in a seat, move, and even like on virtually, and waited until they really could feel things. Sometimes they go, I'm not feeling anything. So just give it some time. Just imagine it, and whatever and they'll describe what they see, right? And so whatever that is, it seems to help. If it doesn't get right underneath it, it starts to shift things. Like they're usually, some are very frightened by the eyes that are looking back at them, and some won't go. Sometimes you ask them to go right into them and look back at themselves. And sometimes it's very frightening for them, but it's constantly saying, you're safe. And if they can't do that, then it's okay. Just bring themselves back. Sometimes the eyes start to soften, right? So Magda, I think there are other practices. I'm finding this one is really, really helpful, and has and you can like really get them to ask each question and answer if they're comfortable with that. So because it really gets under sometimes I wonder, and that's why I say sometimes I think it's magic, because I'll say, well, like, what, you know, what does it want? What does it want? And I'll go, forgiveness. Like the words just pop right out of their mouth. Oh, okay. And it's their words. It's because it's within them, right? And what they need love. Most of them need love. They want to be recognized. They want to be recognized. They want to be heard. They want to be that, whatever that being is. Most of them want to be loved and understood. And that's that, going back. So part of that practice, it's almost like the inner child work that some do, right? I'll do inner child work as well. But I'm finding that sometimes if people can kind of relax and get into it, because they can certainly feel their anger and they can certainly feel their fear. So this, I found this really helpful. Okay.
Does anybody else have a question for Laurie or comment before we wrap up the session? Because we've got a few minutes to go. You could just raise your hand or wave at me or something. Anybody waving? Anything in the chat? Can I ask another question, Laurie? Can I ask about,
Absolutely.
when you talk about the feeding of the demons and Sutra Leone, can you share a little bit more about how you got into that and how it's transformed, how you deal with your inner self-critic, for example? Because that's a strong one for me, with a judging mind that goes, ah. Does a demon help with, does feeding the demons help with that?
Yes, and so this one, the one that I did, I kind of adapted it, but it's pretty close to feeding the demons. I saw her talk at a conference. I don't know if it was one of the FDCW or maybe it was. I can't remember now what conference. A mindfulness conference, I think. I think it was the mindfulness conference, and so she talked about, you know, the should and Machik Ladran. So I mean, I looked up about her, and then I looked up, if you Google how to feed your demons, you'll see the full blast of it. Like it's really interesting, because you see like the genie coming out of the bottle, and she describes how, you know, some people see spiky things and things like that. So she gets a little more elaborate in things. I've taken some other practices, like the, you know, where it is and like built up on that. But when it just landed on me, because I do a lot of work with people, like, because they go ego, and ego, right? Well, everybody has an ego. Ego is just the conscious mind, right? Because I do a lot of work with neurolinguistic programming and, you know, and coaching and things like that. So I have to just say that some people, they've got that chatter going on. One of my friends calls it her girlfriends, like, and it's usually negative. You can't do this, you can't do that. Who do you think you are? What's going on? And then in the untethered soul, that mind goes on. And one of the first things I say is, well, you take control. And it's just the voice going on in your head. Take control. So part of this, I think, is that if you feed the demon, and I think this was her point too, if I got her name right, Alione, like Lama Alione, it was that if you feed the demon what it needs and wants, it's there to protect you, right? It actually started, it's going, you can't do this because it's based on some of the traumas and what happened to us when we were very young. And it thinks it's protecting us. And in a way it is, but it's changed, right? We're now adults and we're looking back and going like, you know, like a 5-year-old has a tantrum, but we grow up and have road rage. That's a 5-year-old tantrum in a, you know, 40, 50-year-old body. So I think what she said about the how to feed your demons just landed on me, because I thought I keep saying, how do you tame that voice and change it to a friend? Because I kept saying, you know, my inner critic, I want it to help me. I don't want to work against me. I want it to help me. So how do I make it help me? So that's how I got interested. What she said, I went, boom, that's me. So you can see a lot more about it. I don't know if that helped, Victoria, but yeah, that's
That's really helpful. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for elaborating. And also thank you for this wonderful, wonderful presentation. I've just learned so much. I'm struck by how practical it is and how you've shared slides giving us tools for developing self-compassion, being kinder to ourselves. And I'm also struck with the parallels from the session this morning with Venerable Carla speaking about kindness. She also spoke about inner self-critic and just let that one go. So I think there's definitely parallels here, and I was just really happy to see, all these great solutions that you can offer for how we can deal with that mindset. So thank you so much. I'm really grateful, and I'm grateful for everyone who joined today. Thank you so much. And please join us for our next session in the conference. Laurie's mentioned the 4 wisdom themes and 16 guidelines throughout her presentation. And Marion O'Dwyer is going to be expanding on the 4 wisdom themes at her session tomorrow. That's Tuesday, 9 o'clock GMT. So please join us for that if you can, otherwise you can watch later.